What if I told you they lied to you, and becoming rich is not the goal for a meaningful life? We often mistakenly believe that having money automatically makes your life meaningful and worth living. If that were true, why do we see so many rich people struggling with depression and taking their own lives? In an effort to prevent this from happening to you, I'll reveal 3 secrets to a meaningful life. That way, you can not only build financial wealth but also live a meaningful life, which is why we want the money to begin with, right? And trust me, you won't want to miss the last one. It's the key that ties everything together. To illustrate my first point, let me bring you back to one of the most horrific times in history, the Holocaust. From 1933 to 1945, millions of people were forced into concentration camps and mercilessly killed. Although some managed to survive, the Holocaust resulted in the deaths of over 6 million Jewish people, as well as millions of other non-Jewish victims. One of the survivors was Viktor Frankl, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning, documenting his experiences in the concentration camps. He determined that there was a link between one's likelihood of survival and one's sense of purpose. He said that those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how. In other words, those who had something to live for were more likely to survive. This is the first secret to a truly meaningful life. You must have something to live for. Like starting a family or building a business empire. We can deal with the hard today if we can see a better tomorrow. Of course, having a purpose isn't enough. If it were, why are there still so many angry New Yorkers? It's so easy to lose track of the beauty of life because our brains are so wired to look for what's wrong. We get so upset over the littlest things, like when the barista messes up your order or when the car in front of you doesn't floor it the second that the light turns green. It's a bad trap to fall into, but we all do it at times. If we want a meaningful life, we must actively look for and appreciate things that we already have, things that we take for granted. If you're thinking, my life sucks and I have nothing to be grateful for, try to compare yourself to someone in a worse spot than you. Did you have to suffer through the Holocaust? Do you face the daily struggle for food and clean water? If you're watching this, chances are none of those apply to you and you do have something you can be grateful for. John Templeton, one of the greatest investors of all time, once said, "If you got $1 billion and you're ungrateful, you're a poor man. If you have very little, but you're grateful for what you have, you're truly rich." We live in a phenomenal time with a better standard of living than ever before thanks to technological innovations. A random teenager today has more access to technology than the King of England had a century ago. Finally, here's the last piece that ties everything together, but instead of telling you, why don't I show you? Do you remember one of the most fulfilling days of your life? What happened that made it such a fulfilling day? I'd be willing to bet it has something to do with giving. In some shape or form, you gave something precious, money, time, emotion, or presence to someone else. For me, I distinctly remember the time when I went back to a bakery to buy bread for a stranger that I met on the street. I felt amazing afterwards. In giving, we realize that our life has a purpose bigger than just ourselves. In giving, we realize that we have more than enough, and so we feel tremendous gratitude for all that we have. The size of the gift doesn't matter, and it doesn't even have to be money. It could be time, emotion, or presence. If you're struggling to find meaning in your life right now, I encourage you to start giving. By giving, you become not only happier, but also healthier. Give not only to your friends and family, but to complete strangers. Give even when you think you have nothing to give, and you will discover an ocean of abundance inside of you and around you. When you put all of these into practice, you will get a wealthy and meaningful life beyond your imagination. I don't just mean financially rich, but also spiritually and emotionally rich. Templeton was a phenomenal example of everything we talked about. He was not only an exceptional human being, but also an extraordinary investor. If you want to learn his timeless words of investing wisdom, watch this next video. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe.